Hello everybody and welcome back to the Blossom Review. How are you today? Today we'll be talking about 3 different Japanese films that I think you should watch. So in the past few weeks I found myself watching a lot of Japanese films, and then I thought to myself that I could choose 3 of these films as examples of 3 different moments in the history of Japanese cinema. So we're gonna start way back in the golden age of Japanese cinema. So the golden age of Japanese cinema, in very general terms, it started in the late 20s, early 30s, and ended in the early 60s. In 1949, the genius Ozu Yasujiro directed the wonderful Late Spring. Late Spring is the story of Noriko, played by Hara Setsuko, a young woman who takes care of her widowed father, played by the legendary Ru Chishu. And she's very happy with her life as it is, taking care of her dad. But one day, as she's approaching her late 20s, her aunt decides that it's about time she got married. So Late Spring is this delicate, very touching tale about family and love and growing up and learning to let go. So the relationship between Noriko and her father is the perfect example of the purity and the selflessness of familial love. So even though we're talking about the 40s here, father and daughter are shown in the film as equals. The relationship is fully based on mutual respect, care, and this heartfelt gratitude that you feel throughout the entire film. So Noriko not wanting to get married is not because she's against the institution of marriage per se, and her father understands that. Her father appreciates her reasons, but at the same time, he doesn't want Noriko to stay stuck with him forever. He wants her to live her own life. That's why he finds very loving ways to persuade her to get married, because for her father, marriage is an opportunity that Noriko has to experience life, to experience different kinds of relationships, to experience a different kind of joy that she has never experienced before. And that leads to the theme of growing up and letting go. Because what Noriko and her father need to come to terms with is the same thing that we all need to come to terms with, which is we all grow up. And as we grow up, we naturally lose a lot of things and we become different people. Suddenly we're not children anymore, we are spouses, we are workers, we are confidants. So we need to learn, and I think the film, through Noriko and her father, the film reminds us that we need to let go of this period in our lives, and we need to accept the fact that these losses naturally happen. But at the same time, it's a very hopeful film that tells us that even though we are losing certain things, we're letting go of certain things, there are different kinds of joy that expect us in the future. So I love how Late Spring, despite the American censorship of the time, Late Spring is full of Japanese symbols of the Japanese culture. So as you see the characters chatting in their very traditional Japanese home, as they go to no performances, to tea ceremonies, the film is full of little symbols of the Japanese culture, which I think is magical considering the period that we're talking about. And I think Ozu managed to bring to his Japanese audience something that they didn't have after the Second World War. They didn't have a lot because of the censorship, which was their culture back. So Ozu's cinematography, it's very simple, but absolutely stunning. I find it fantastic how Ozu's camera is always standing still. His camera doesn't move much. But at the same time, he allows the characters within the frame to move, and that gives depth to his compositions and also a flair of theatricality, let's say. And if you add that to his signature tatami shots, you have this beautiful portrayal of Noriko's everyday life in a way that sort of invites you to be part of it. And before we move on, I think I have to mention Hara Setsuko's incredibly expressive performance. She is fantastic in this film. And I think one scene that I'll always remember, this is actually a 7-minute long sequence in which Noriko and her father go to a no performance. So there is zero dialogue in this scene, but it's just so moving and so compelling. And the scene lives and dies on Hara's expressions. And you see Noriko go from joy to anger and to sorrow in a way that is just fascinating. It really is. So I think Late Spring sort of became one of my favorite films, and I do think you should watch it. I actually have the BFI copy of Late Spring that also comes with The Only Son. And this is a lovely copy, a lovely version. And well, this is the little love of my life, Late Spring. So make sure to watch it. It's a fascinating film. Absolutely. So next, we are going to move forward 50 years in time, and we're going to talk about the 90s. So in the 60s, Japan saw a decrease in the number of movie theaters due to the advent of the television, probably alongside other factors. But in the 90s, that trend sort of changes, and you see an increase in the number of movie theaters in Japan, probably thanks to the introduction of the multiplex, and also because Japanese cinema saw the rise in that period of very important, very influential Japanese directors such as Miike Takashi, Kurosawa Kiyoshi, and also Koreeda Hirokazu, one of my absolute favorites. So in 1998, Koreeda directed Afterlife. Afterlife is the story of these social services sort of station in between life and death, where the dead go to right after they die. So people who have just died, they go to this place and they spend 1 week there. During this 1 week, they have to choose one memory that they want to remember forever, because after this 1 week, they're going to forget their entire lives, and only this one memory that they choose will remain. And the staff of this station helps them recreate their memory, so they can carry it forever. So Afterlife is an extremely touching and introspective story about life, memory, and, well, I guess personality. Cinematography in Afterlife gives the film the seriousness of a documentary. So the film is pretty much shot as if it's a documentary, as you see the dead being interviewed one by one. So the first half is composed of these interviews with the dead, and they are just so effective because they show humanity in its entirety. So you see eyes sparkle when they remember a memory that means a lot to them. You see avoidance at the face of a memory that should be forgotten. You see struggle when people try to find meaning in their lives, or when they realize that their lives weren't exactly what they wanted it to be. But all of these scenes, they are portrayed, all these interviews, they are portrayed with such heart and such sincerity, and a complete and total lack of melodrama. And that's the beauty of Afterlife. I think it comes from the fact that to create this film, Koreeda actually interviewed more than 500 people and asked them What is the one memory you would like to keep forever? So what you see in the film, some of it of course is scripted, but some of it actually is not. So they are the product of these interviews that Koreeda conducted before or during the production of the film. And then during the second half, you see the crew, or you see the staff of this station recreating the memories. And it's a beautiful process, not only because I feel like the second half of the film actually pays homage to the act of filmmaking, and of course to the ability that a camera has to immortalize our memories. But it is beautiful to see the staff pouring their dedication into recreating these memories. But it also allows for the dead to find some peace. And it is cathartic for them, and consequently for us as the audience, to see them recreating these memories. And I think the film, the colors are very, you have muted colors throughout. They become a little bit brighter in the second half with the recreations. But still the film is bathed in this sense of sobriety. And Koreeda's compositions, they are so minimalistic, but so compelling. And he successfully guides you through this process of self-discovery in a way that the dead go through when they start thinking about their lives. But that his cinematography also guides us through the journey of our two main characters. So Mochizuki, who is played, this is the very first role of Arata Yura, actually, so a lovely young Arata Yura. And Shiori, who is played by Erika Oda. And their performances are just so full of personality and full of hidden emotions bubbling underneath. And it just gives the film an extra hook that keeps you hypnotized. I actually love something that Hirokazu Koreeda mentioned in the press kit, the original press kit for Afterlife. So he says, although the memories in Afterlife are presented as real experiences that are later reconstructed as film, you can't really distinguish the stories characters tell as truth and the recreations as fiction. They intertwine with great complexity. Our memories are not fixed or static. They are dynamic, reflecting selves that are constantly changing. So the act of remembering, of looking back at the past, is by no means redundant or negative. Rather, it challenges us to evolve and mature. The recreation of memories allow the dead to come to terms with the past, affirming and accepting their lives in the process. But the task of recreating also gives Mochizuki and the others who have failed to choose memories a chance to reevaluate their own lives. It offers respite to those who couldn't find meaning in their past. So Afterlife is a film that it makes us think about our own memories, about the memories that we are constantly creating. It does make us wonder whether the memories that we have now, if things did play out the way we remember them, or if maybe we embellished things a little bit. But I think Afterlife reminds us that our memories are ours and they make us who we are. So Afterlife is a very, very special film, and I highly recommend watching it. I also have the BFI copy here. It is a lovely, lovely version as well. And this BFI copy is full of special features and interviews with Koreeda and also with Arata Yura. So if you are a fan of Koreeda, very much worth your money, this BFI. So make sure to watch Afterlife, a very, very special film. Guys, I'm so sorry about the ambulance. Can you hear the ambulance? I'm so sorry. Anyway, now let's talk about modern Japanese cinema. So after Drive My Car, that won the Oscars a few years back, Hamaguchi Ryusuke directed the fantastic Evil Does Not Exist, which was released last year. Evil Does Not Exist tells the story of a countryside village where a father and his daughter live. One day, some people from Tokyo come to the village and tell its inhabitants that they are going to implement this glamping project in the area, which will cause a lot of terrible consequences to the environment and of course to their lives. So Evil Does Not Exist, I find it to be a mind-blowing film, to be honest. I find it awe-inspiring. The film starts with this sense of peace and quiet. It sort of lulls us into this place of, this seemingly peaceful place. So the first 10 minutes, they barely have any dialogue in it. So you have a couple of lines at the end of these 10 minutes, but the first 10 minutes, they are only very wide shots that show nature in all its power and its beauty. And it effectively portrays how the inhabitants of the village actually live in harmony with nature. But the trick is you have Ishibashi Eiko's score in the background that doesn't really allow you to relax. So most people know the story that it was actually Ishibashi's score that inspired the creation of the film. Her score is just as fascinating as the film, or maybe makes the film so fascinating, because her score is profoundly poignant. So even if you just open Spotify and listen to the score, it evokes all these emotions in you, and it's just incredible. So in the film, even though you have those beautiful, wonderful shots of nature, her score, at the same time that is stunning, it is slightly disconcerting. And at the same time that it's sad, it's joyful, and most importantly, at the same time that it's calm, it's very tense. So you feel like something is wrong from the very beginning. And that's the state that the film keeps us in for the entire time. So at the same time that you see this those beautiful shots of nature, they never allow you to relax. So you are held in this state of tension because something is coming. You can feel that something is strange and something is coming, but you don't know what it is. You can't really say what is strange about this place, what is strange about this music, what is going on here. So Ishibashi's score gives this very mysterious tone to this tale, but I absolutely love the camera work in Evil Does Not Exist, because Hamaguchi's camera is the complete opposite of Ozu's camera in Late Spring. Hamaguchi's camera is constantly moving, and it's funny because at times the point of view of the camera, it feels like it's the environment observing us, but sometimes it feels like it's an extra person in the scene that you can't see that is observing the other people and how they live. Regardless of the situation, the camera in Evil Does Not Exist is an active character in the story, and it just gives the film this very immersive quality because the camera feels as alive as the characters it's capturing. So it adds to this feeling of dissonance. I think the theme of the film is dissonance. So you have those very beautiful shots, but this very unnerving score. You have this camera that is constantly moving and constantly looking at different things, but also the color. The color scheme is just stunning. So you see that nature, the village, the compositions are bathed in blues and greens and browns and orange tones. And you have one scene in Tokyo, and Tokyo is very gray and dead. But then you have one thing that really captured my attention when I was watching the film, is the guy that comes from Tokyo to talk about the project, Takahashi, if I'm not mistaken. He's the only character in the film. In most of his screen time, he's wearing red, and it's just, it pops out at you, and it's just you're like, is it because he's an outsider? What is happening here? So that also adds to the tension. So the film constantly creates layers of strangeness. So layers that contrast each other and add to this idea of dissonance. I find it fascinating that if you get Evil Does Not Exist, and Hamaguchi managed to mix composition, movement, color, and score to create this very philosophical and very mysterious tale about the balances and imbalances of life, about the natural cycles of life, and not just human life, I mean living beings in general. I find it strange that, well, you see a lot of reviews of the film in which people call the film an equal parable. But I don't really agree with that, because the film doesn't preach. And I don't think Hamaguchi set out to tell people what is right, what is wrong. The film asks questions, and the film makes us wonder what concepts such as evil or peace actually mean. So Evil Does Not Exist. As you can see, I am a bit speechless, because it is a film that invites for a lot of rewatching. As soon as I finished the film, I wanted to watch it again, because there is so much about it, and you notice that watching it just once, you don't really understand it all. It's a very layered, so it's a layered film. And it's just fascinating, the different kinds of emotions that Hamaguchi managed to evoke in Evil Does Not Exist. It's truly fascinating. And well, I don't have the Blu-ray for Evil Does Not Exist, because the Blu-ray should be coming out in the UK in the next couple of months. So I think I'm definitely gonna grab a copy myself, because it's a film. It's not your everyday film that you watch and you're like, oh, okay, it's just a simple story, ABC. No, it makes you think a lot. And in a way, it's very interactive, because it makes you interpret it in lots of different ways. So Evil Does Not Exist. Make sure to watch it. So, Late Spring, Afterlife, Evil Does Not Exist. Make sure to watch all three, and let me know in the comments if you have already watched them, what you think about them, or maybe what you'll be watching next. So what Japanese films have you been watching, and what Japanese films would you like to watch in the future? Let me know in the comments. And make sure to stop by the Blossom Review. So yesterday we had a post on a fantastic NHK miniseries called Koise no Futari. Make sure to check our review. And tomorrow we are going to post the complete calendar of releases for the month of November for both Korea and Japan. So all the new K-dramas and J-dramas, make sure to check it out so you can choose which ones you'll be watching next month. And well, I hope you liked the video, and I hope you subscribe. Make sure to stop by next week for another review, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you so very much for stopping by, and I hope you have a fantastic day ahead. See you soon. Bye!